Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and today we are tackling disaster response and large-scale restoration projects. Today's special guest is Rinea Blanchard, who founded Superior Contract Cleaning in 1997, and she has a background that led her to a local building supply company in Lafayette, and she built strong relationships with contractors there, and she saw an opportunity to bring added value to those contractors through specialized cleaning and restoration services. So without further ado, please welcome Rinea.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to finally have you on. You have written quite a few pieces for
Yes.
us, and we've been talking about the opportunity to get on here and talk about, something on Ask the Expert. And I think this is such a timely topic. So I wanted you to share some of the lessons and some of the insights you have on some of the projects that you and your team have tackled. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about is, you guys handled a property in Louisiana which was be quoted 1,000-year flood, right?
Yes.
And how many homes did your team help restore in that aftermath? And if you want to, you can give a little detail on that as well for those who may not know what that is.
So, as far as the restoration goes, or the clients,
The
or what flood?
clients and what is the 1,000-year flood if people
Oh,
don't
okay. So
know?
they nicknamed it the Thousand Year Flood only because it was an anomaly. They we experienced I don't think it was over 19 inches of rain within a very short period of time. I think it was 48 hours, or it might have even been 24. It's been a number of years since we had the Thousand Year Flood, but people mark it, before and after, be kind of like COVID, before the Thousand Year Flood, or before the flood, we just call it the flood, and after the flood, or I experienced this during the flood, that kind of thing, referenced always. But we helped numerous houses. I cannot really put a number to it, but it was well over 50, maybe closer to 60, 70 homes that we helped within a couple of weeks. It was about a month-long process, but the first week was your phone. My son was with me at the time, and our phones never stopped. We went from one call to the next call, and we just lined up. Our crews never stopped, and we never stopped for a solid week. Actually, probably closer to two, but we started scheduling a little bit more space in between second week and up to a month. By the end of the month, then we had to deal with mold. So because mold sets in, and not everybody could get serviced right away. It's not just us, it's numerous restoration companies working out one, and other organizations helping people.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that's a ton of rain. I think we're seeing it now across the
Yes.
United States, Texas in particular. I know the Carolinas and Mexico have been hit as well. So what lessons did you guys learn from that? I kind of picked up on one about the way you were scheduling things, right? But, you
Scheduling.
know, yeah, yeah. What else did you guys learn in that? Was it, collaborations or, making
Yes.
sure you guys were rested?
Partnerships. Yes, we learned partnerships. Partnerships are invaluable in our industry, because during an event like this, these things happen. Hurricanes come to Louisiana quite often, and the southern states. So it's very important to partner with other industry professionals, even same or roofers or carpenters or people that complement your industry but have the same values, so that you can trust them enough to turn your client over to the next stage, or say, I can't get to this customer, so this company that we're partnering with can help you.
Yeah, 100%. And I would definitely say, word of mouth and just collaboration are such a strong form of marketing, but also just our industry, right? Like, yes, there are competition, if you will, but
Yeah.
it's also a collaborative effort, right? It's a friendly
Yes.
competition, if you will, and you're going to give business and they're going to give business, and that's what it's really all about. And you mentioned hurricanes, so that brings me to my next question because you guys have dealt with a lot of large loss projects. I know
Yes.
you guys responded to Hurricane Maria in Puerto
Yes.
Rico,
Yes.
and I'm sure you faced logistical challenges.
Yes.
What were those, and how many houses? if you can remember, were you able to help? I know that that's hard going from the States to Puerto Rico, but can you
Yeah.
kind of talk about that as well?
Yes. When we were invited to go to Puerto Rico to help the families there, we had to really kind of think about how we would do that. But coincidentally, we had just finished a large project and we had a gap. So I flew out there and kind of looked at the lay of the land and determined, yes, there were places that we could station, work out of in a couple of local areas that we wanted to work. We wanted to work closer to San Juan, but not so far away. It just ended up that we were about 40 minutes. That would have been 40 minutes west of San Juan and then lower. We worked about a 40-mile radius, 35-mile radius, and we helped about 100 families. We were out there from um, April until the fall when Florence hit. We came back home for Florence, Hurricane Florence in the Carolinas, and we helped numerous families there as well on the Surf City side of the country.
Yeah, and I was going to say, just hearing you guys going from project to project, even with a little bit of break, you need your materials, your products, your
Yes. Oh,
equipment. So
the
how?
materials was the hardest part in Puerto Rico. First of all, there's a language barrier. Not very many people speak English. We had a local person, was our designated person to translate and went on all the jobs and organized. And our secretary was from Puerto Rico, so she scheduled in Spanish. She was able to talk to the homeowners. The homeowners were wonderful. They fed our guys. They were so welcoming and so grateful. It was really an experience that lasted a lifetime.
Yeah, I would definitely say their hospitality. They're very
Yes.
thankful. And I also think, for your team, it's great for them to be fed as well because you're able to have more energy.
Yes.
And what a great experience
Yeah.
going outside of your normal comfort zone, and being treated like family at the end
Yeah.
of the day. That's really what it comes down to. That's such a great experience to be able to talk about. And I'm sure that's something that you guys still talk about
We
in your
do.
team today,
And
right?
the people that we took out there, we had crews that ran 14 days on, 14 days off, and we'd fly them in rotation. But those people are still in communication with us today. They've went on to different things and they're all over the country, but we still stay in communication as we created a bond that'll last a lifetime.
100%. And with them being in other parts of the country, you guys can always help each other when you guys need to
That's
and need
right.
it the most, which is cool.
Yeah.
And for people that don't really remember or know about Hurricane Maria, it was a Category 4, if I'm not mistaken. And
That's
so
right.
structural integrity and mold risks were already high with a hurricane just in general. But how is the risk higher from a Category 4 than maybe a lower category storm?
Well, for wind damage. So these houses in Puerto Rico, for the most part, are built out of concrete blocks because they're built to weather large winds. It's an island. It's a small island too, and on a normal day it's windy. The other challenge is that the power grid is always, it once a day, every other day, no less than every other day, the power grid goes down. So they're used to things happening to them, but literally the tops of these houses were cut off. There was one level completely gone from their house. All you saw was rebar and house after house after house after house. So um, the wind damage on a category 4 and trees, lots of tree damage from the wind damage or
Mhm.
from the wind. That's a very dangerous thing from an average, category 1 or even 2.
Yeah, and it didn't mess with the structural integrity a ton for you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And just thinking about that, no roof potentially, right, for majority of these. And maybe even some of their interior structure or outerior structure or exterior structure was maybe compromised or removed or shifted, maybe even cracks, right? Because you mentioned
Yes.
concrete.
Or falling, many of these homes are on mountains.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
and then trees down, and you can't get to them because the trees are down and the roads are blocked.
Which is interesting because I think for people who don't really know how Puerto Rico is geographically, not only were you guys dealing with maybe roofs and things in the road, you guys were also dealing with several trees down, right? Then if there's no power, that ruins kind of your workflow, if you will.
Yes.
And depending on when it comes on or doesn't come on, it could be chaotic.
Yeah,
But
it's a challenge.
exactly. And you said you guys stay there for quite some time, so I can only
Yes.
imagine the obstacles you guys faced and the things that you learned in that, right? In that
Yes.
situation, I'm sure it's made your guys' team so much better.
Yes.
Maybe prepare for what ifs a little bit more, even if it's not really going to happen here. But hey, it does
Yes.
always help you learn.
It helped us work on our SOPs, and then variables.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that because I think that's how you continually learn and enhance your business and even your customer service.
That's right.
Um, and I know you guys deal with a lot of hurricane work and flood work. But there's one question that I have for you because you guys have seen quite a bit, and I know you mentioned Carolina work, and then
Mhm.
obviously to your local area. So, what
Mhm.
kind of patterns maybe have you guys observed with like the Hurricane Florence in North Carolina, and maybe what you see down in your area? What similarities or differences do they have? I mean, what can you prepare for after knowing some of the stuff that you guys have handled between the stuff down in your area and then Hurricane Florence in North
Well, I
Carolina?
guess to me, being prepared for hurricane season is kind of the standard all across the country. You should really get familiar with your policy, get familiar
Mhm.
with your name storm deductibles. And I would get familiar with your restoration companies in your area. I would even go as far as to visit them. When you have somebody recommended, or yeah, definitely work off of that, but go visit them. See how that company operates. I would love it if a customer or prospective customer would walk in and say, "Hey, I'm so and so. Hurricane season's here. I just kind of want to sit and talk to you about how you work, how you operate, and look at your operation and see if you're equipped." I can tell you, Superior Contract Cleaning is equipped. We have we have hundreds of pieces of equipment. In fact, oftentimes we rent equipment to other restoration companies.
Mhm.
So we're prepared with the knowledge and the skill set and the equipment involved in doing the work. That is something homeowners should really think about going into storm season.
Yeah, and I would definitely say it's not if, it's when
Yes,
for all of us, right? Because we're also consumers. And
yes,
so we know, hey, this is something that our consumers really need to know, especially because we know when a storm hits, there's people from all over the country that come. And some people have maybe it's their first time doing any type of storm or hurricane work. And they may not be fully equipped just because they've never done it before. And so
right,
I think that also allows it a barrier of collaboration with your community, right? Like sharing, hey,
yes.
our doors are open. We'd love to get with you and maybe even help you plan and prepare efficiently and effectively for the season to come so that when it does come, maybe you're
Right.
able to have extra barriers of protection or preparedness, whether it's, getting all your records in order,
Yes,
making sure your
and
cars
safe.
have gas, yeah, and
That's right.
safe, just
Uh-huh.
little things
Yeah,
like that.
put your important records in plastic or in some kind of weatherproof container. Get some battery backup. Get a little
Yeah.
generator, even if it's just a little generator to help you stay cool or charge your phone up, stay in
Mhm.
communication. Those types of things, and check out who's in your area that could help you if something and when something will happen.
Exactly, exactly. And I think we've covered a ton, but I do have one more question for you. And I think you
Sure.
kind of touched base on this. And it's, how can our teams better prepare for large scale mobilizations or even to our community based on lessons that you learn from your guys' major disaster response? And maybe even for people who are listening that are trying to think, should I go and help when something like this happens? Obviously preparedness is a huge thing, but what insights would you share just to our industry for mobilization on these types of events?
We'll definitely have a standard operating procedure in place that's solid and covers all thinkable situations. Partner with specific areas, restoration professionals that have the same values as you. Uh, get familiar with them, have a plan lined up with them, see if there's a yard you can use for equipment. Um, and just, I would even go as far as to have some kind of agreement, talk about what makes sense for both parties. See what kind of equipment those other restoration professionals have. And as far as us in Lafayette, Louisiana, we have a lot of equipment. People can depend on us. We have a structured uh, price list. We work with our restoration partners on how they can rent from us without having to go somewhere else, like United Rental or other big box rental companies. So I would say just have everything, all your paperwork ready to go, have your equipment ready to go, clean, filters, everything just in place, even loaded. We keep our dry vans loaded. We have 120 DHUs ready to go, ready to hook up to a truck and out to the location. So I would say just get your equipment ready, get your paperwork ready, look into different areas, different professionals, see if you can work. They already have your agreements in place and you're ready to go. All you got to do is get a call and you're out the door.
Yeah, I would definitely say preparedness is very key, especially when you're traveling out of state or even into your immediate area. You should always be ready for anything, quite
Anything.
frankly.
That's
And
right.
we know it now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that there's really, fine lines anymore between seasons, just because of what we
Oh,
see so much
yeah.
now. And, to your point, I would definitely say for those listening who are considering this, reach out to Renee. I'm sure she would be more than happy to help you, and provide her insight. She has many, many years of experience, but also I think if you're looking for a partnership too, she may be able to provide you some insight. She's very knowledgeable, and she is very helpful to say the least. And I would really love to thank you for joining us today. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close?
Well, thank you, Kayla. Thank you for asking me. And I just welcome everybody to get a hold of us if they're interested in partnering. We can have like a little pre-interview and see what you're interested in. And just be safe out there. I encourage everybody to really look at their own personal safety, not just their prospective clients, but make sure that you're covered.
Oh, 100%. That is great information right there and knowledge to share. Safety is always first. We
Mhm.
can't help ourselves or our consumers if we're not
That's
prepared
right.
and we are not safe, right? We're no good at that point. As always, we would love to thank you for tuning in for this episode of Ask the Expert, and we can't wait to see you on the next one. Take care.